Look, guys, I'm really excited to be here. Thanks, Dave, for the warm welcome, and thanks to Isaac Kuhlman and Kirsty Verity, who are also on the call. Look, guys, I just want to tell you a little bit about what the trip's all about. Now, firstly, my name is Paul Sinclair, and for those who are at Dave Kettner's live event, Dave's live event, when was that, Dave? Was that in September or August of last year?
Yeah, it was at the beginning of August of last year. That's correct.
Yeah, if anyone who was at the live event would have seen us, myself and Isaac, I think we were the first presenters on the very first morning, and it was great to meet a lot of you guys there. I really had a good time. But yeah, look, I myself, I've been selling on Amazon for around about probably 4 years now, something along those lines. I was kind of one of the original guys who was working really hard when Matt Clark and Jason Katzenbach, the two guys who created the Amazing Selling Machine, started their Amazon career as well. The three of us were in a networking group, and we basically met and started to really mastermind and figure out how to sell on Amazon, and my business really took off from that point. Now, in the last 4 years, I've sold somewhere around about 12 to $13 million of product on Amazon.com. That's across obviously a lot of different products. We probably have had more than 250, 300 different products and SKUs from that time, and pretty much have sold pretty much everything from supplements through to physical, lots of different physical products. When I first started the business that I mostly focused on, my main focus was selling cell phone accessories, and we still do sell a little bit about cell phone accessories, but we've really broadened our view into a lot of different niches at this point. So as far as going to China, China has been one of those things that I've spent, oh gosh, I've probably been there maybe 25 times in the last 4 years. I mean, I love going to China. I love going over there and meeting my suppliers. I've gone to the Canton Fair multiple times. I've gone to other trade fairs. I've met with my staff. We actually have our team on the ground over there in China. So we pretty much know a lot about China, and we actually created a course called Sourcing Profits, and quite a few guys might be familiar with that as well. So pretty much that's who I am. I am going to be your tour host and the leader of the actual trip itself. And basically coming on board is also going to be Dave, and I know a lot of you guys know Dave, but let me get Dave just to introduce himself a little bit as well.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Paul, and thanks for introducing yourself there. I haven't been selling as long as Paul has. Actually, got started selling my own products in the whole. A lot of people know ASM, which is the Amazing Selling Machine. That model a little more than 2 years ago now, and we're just about ready for the crossover the $4 million mark in revenue and sales, which is awesome. It's been great and growing. And it's an ever learning experience, and there's just so much that we continue. I say we because it's my wife and I in this business, that we're just continuing to learn and grow, and we're going to do that by being around people like Paul and Kirsty, who's you're going to learn about here in a second, along with Isaac, who are they're all Amazon experts, and we all learn from each other. And you guys coming on board, coming on this trip with us, it's just the Mastermind. It's great. We're going to have an amazing time. You're going to see all the stuff we're going to be doing here in a second. But the networking and learning from one another is going to be so key to taking our businesses to the next level. And I know that for our business, that we just really started. We're just at the cusp of where we're going with this whole product business, and so excited to be taking that to so much further levels than we're even at right now. And the one thing, like I said in the beginning of the call, I haven't been to China yet. I'm looking forward to putting those teams of people in place in China for our own business, and I know I'm going to be learning a lot about that, how Paul and Isaac has set that up, and how we can do that for us too. So a little bit about me, and I'll be happy to answer more questions later as well.
Well, great, Dave. What I guys want to tell you about is the team also who's going to be coming to our China trip. Now, look, traveling to China, obviously any of us can get on a plane and go to China, but actually doing a tour is quite difficult. China itself there's a lot of bureaucracy. I think we all know that. It's something that's, it's not just easy to say, hey, look, yeah, we're taking 30 people to China and, book 30 hotel rooms. You actually do need to have a lot of procedures to go through to make this happen. And my business partner in our whole China tour is a guy named Dragon. Now, I met Dragon around about 12 years ago, probably 10 to 12 years ago. I was actually on a tour myself, and Dragon was my tour leader, and on the tour itself, I just loved everything about China. I absolutely loved it. You know, I started in Beijing and finished in Hong Kong, which is actually pretty much the model of the same trip that we're going to be doing. But you know, with Dragon, we went right through China, and I learned everything I possibly could about the business, because I kind of had the idea at that time, wow, I'd really like to do my own China tour business. And so Dragon and I have been working together for about 10 or 12 years. He's a fantastic guy. I mean, anyone who knows Dragon, you know, he's obviously a really funny guy. I know his daughter very well. His daughter was, you know, she's about 14, 15 years old now, and you know, and I've spent a lot of time with her. Probably about 5, 6 years ago, I took my son and my wife, and we went to China, and we met up with Dragon and his daughter, and we spent 3 or 4 days traveling around Beijing and Shanghai together, and just really had a good time. So Dragon and I go a long way back, and he's a fantastic guy. So he's actually our tour guide, and he's the guy that will be getting us all around China safely and having a lot of fun. And next I want to tell you about is Isaac Kuhlman. Now, Isaac, you're there, Isaac?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, if you can just tell us a little bit about yourself, Isaac, and where you are and what you do for us.
Yeah, so basically for the last 2.5, almost 3 years now, actually it's almost exactly 3 years now, that Paul and I have actually been working together on the Amazon business, and as things kind of grew, we started to build our business in different ways, and a lot of the things that we do now or a lot of things that I do now are more in our informational space, like with the Sourcing Profits company and that course. So helped all the support and did a lot of the content for that, and pretty much going to be doing a lot of the support and helping you guys out. But it's not just part of my job to do support. I'm not just a customer service representative. You know, I basically have run our business, the Amazon business, for the last 2.5 years, and been, you know, was the former chief operations officer of our company, but now we're full business partners, Paul and I. So yeah, we actually been doing this for long enough that he was basically just like, yeah, you're going to become my business partner. So that's where we are now, and yeah, I mean, it's going to be a great thing to be, you know, hanging out with Kirsty and Dave and Paul and myself, and we're all going to be sharing a lot of information on this trip. So that's about me in a nutshell there.
Well, thanks, Isaac. And guys, also another person who's going to be on the trip, and I'm hoping a lot of you guys probably know her, Kirsty Verity. Now, Kirsty has become quite famous in the ASM world. I think she's been on stage a number of times. She's been interviewed by Jason on a one-on-one interview, I believe, about 2 ASM conferences ago. She's extremely successful. She's very, very good at what she does, and she's probably known as one of the most successful sellers outside of the Amazon.com platform on the other Amazons, like in Europe and so forth. So she probably has a lot more, you know, she certainly has a lot more experience than I do as far as selling in Europe and so forth. But Kirsty, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, guys. Just a little bit about my background. I actually spent 20 years in corporate branding and marketing. On brands such as, you probably know, maybe Tylenol, Sensodyne, Aquafresh, those types of brands. So I do have a lot of experience in terms of branding and marketing, in terms of how to develop your brands and how to market them successfully. But, you know, as anybody who spent a lot of time in the corporate world, or any job really that you don't really want to spend a lot of time in, I really started to think about, well, what else could I do to actually get myself some freedom and pretty much be able to work, you know, from anywhere, and obviously be able to sustain a really, really good lifestyle as well. So yeah, that's when I found ASM, which was probably same time as Dave, so just about 2 years ago. And as Paul sort of mentioned, my strategy was really about, you know, limited products, but then being able to sell across many platforms. So I really started selling in the US, but then quickly migrated to the UK, and then I've also really got a strong business now in Germany and the rest of Europe. And in those 2 years, I've turned over just over $5 million worth of sales. And this year is hoping to be an even bigger year for me, so I'm really excited about that. And I'll be really excited about sharing some of those strategies with you about how to do it, not also about accelerating your business, but also how to keep it simple as well, which I think is really important. I also source all my products from China, and I've also made a couple of trips there in the last couple of years. And I sort of spent a lot of time visiting my suppliers, sourcing new suppliers, and also visiting their factories as well, which I think is really important to really understand your supply chain and, how your product's made and how it really gets to the customer and how you can actually take cost out of your business as well, which I think is, once you get into year sort of 2 and 3, that's really what I believe you should be focusing on is, you're making all your revenue, but then how do you actually make more profit? I've also attended the Canton Fair a couple of times as well. So yeah, I found going to China being one of the most invaluable experiences that I've found to really accelerate my business, along with masterminding as well. And I remember Jason saying at one of the first ASM conferences, look at the people in this room and you may have, you may find a joint venture and you may find someone that you can actually accelerate your business with. And that really prompted me to go to attend a trip, which I think they've done a trip this year to Hawaii, but I attended a trip to Aruba. And there was probably about sort of maybe 30 or 40 of us there. But I've found some amazing people that I've spent so much time with and that they've really helped me accelerate my business, but also be there in the good times, but also be there in the bad times as well to really sort of support you and get you through. So not only I think is a sourcing trip really invaluable to accelerate your business, but also is the networking and the masterminding, which you don't really get to sort of bond and build those relationships until you attend something like this. So that's it from me. I'll hand you back to Paul.
And Kirsty, I know you've got a bit of a cold right now. You're currently in Melbourne, Australia, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. It's 11:15 here in the morning, so it's actually quite a good time slot for me. So I've got my coffee though, so that's pushing me through, so it's all good.
And I'm actually coming to you guys from, I'm actually in Sweden right now. My two boys and my wife, they all live in Sweden, and I'm over here visiting. I just got here 2 days ago, so I'm actually a little bit jet lagged. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning for me, so I just woke up about an hour ago. So, and Isaac, you're currently in Las Vegas, correct?
Yes, I don't know if you can hear me yet, but yes, I am in Las Vegas. Yep, I just got back from Australia, about a 4-month trip in Australia about a week and a half ago. So it's been most of the last 3-4 months has been in the Southern Hemisphere.
And so Dave, and Dave, you're obviously in Phoenix at the moment?
That's correct. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona right now. It's funny, actually, it's been probably the most stationary I've been for the past, I don't know, 6 weeks or something. I haven't traveled, but I will be heading out to Las Vegas tomorrow because I'm going to be going up to the CES show, which is the Consumer Electronics Trade Show in Las Vegas. So I'll be up there for 5 days, enjoying some time and meeting more suppliers and networking and all that great stuff.
And the reason I mention this, guys, is I just want you guys to understand the team that's going for this trip. I mean, the four of us are, combined, from what I've just heard from the figures, we're over $25 million in sales. So we actually know what we're doing, and and again, I'm learning all the time. I'm learning from Kirsty. She's really pushing hard for our business to expanding more into the European markets where there's a lot less competition in certain niches and so forth. And and her success there is really kind of prompting me to look at that. We're looking at other markets as well. We're looking at selling into China and potentially selling into Japan and other markets. So that's one of the things that you really do get if you come on this trip with us is the experience of 4 pretty successful sellers on Amazon. And so moving forward, what I want to tell you about, guys, is the actual trip itself is something that I have a lot of passion around. Obviously, I love going to China. I mentioned earlier that Dragon, I met him. There's a photo of Dragon and I. This was in Beijing about a year ago when we were heading over to look at some hotels for the trip and so forth. And one of the things that I have done is this trip has actually been done before for us. Basically, in 2013, August of 2013, we did our first trip to China at that time we called it the Amazing Selling Adventure. Now, this was done in basically a partnership between myself, Matt Clark, and Jason Katzenbach. And what we did is, I guess it was in early 2013, we basically had again, I mentioned earlier, we're in a network mastermind together, and I was talking to Matt one day, and he basically said that he wanted to get some kind of upsell at the next ASM event, and he wanted to do a mastermind or some kind of networking event, and I was like, well, why don't you take some people to China? And he was kind of a little bit shocked. He's like, well, I wouldn't know how to do that. And I said, well, look, I've got it all in place. I've got Dragon. I've got everything ready to go. I just need to, to basically to get the people to come. And he said, well, fantastic, let's do it. And so we went on stage, and I believe this was at ASM2, it might have been ASM1, and basically just said to people, look, here's our trip, this is what we're doing, and we pretty much, and said the first 30 people to sign up can go on the trip, and and people ran to the back of the room. I'm not sure if Dave, I don't think you were at that event actually, but yeah, people actually ran to the back of the room, knocking each other over because they wanted to come on this trip. They understood what it was going to be, and obviously this is something that there on that trip itself, there was 35 of us in total, and I've actually just circled. You guys can see on this on the video right there some of the people that are quite well known in the ASM world. I mean, if you look at this, there's Daniel Adunson. Daniel's a really young guy from Iceland. He's done phenomenally well. He's got a whole operation based out of the Philippines and so forth. We've got Ben Cleary, who's a mentor that a lot of people have know Ben. There's John Gill, who's quite well known in the world of Amazon. He's been on stage multiple times. Some other big-time sellers, Chris Wilson. I know Chris has done phenomenal amount. Julie, Kerry Seabury. Kerry was again, he was another ASM on stage. So I would say that out of that trip that went, there was 30 people plus the team, obviously Matt, Jason, myself, and a few other people. But out of those 30 people, we saw incredible success. I mean, we still get together at ASM events. We'll have dinner. We have our own little network group, a closed Facebook group that only we can talk about. But some of the success that's come out of that trip for those initial sellers, I mean, I would say out of the 30 that at least 20, if not 25, have still got extremely successful or have got extremely successful ASM businesses or Amazon businesses. I know at least probably 10 of them, if not 15, who are doing 100,000 a month and more. And I know of at least 2 or 3 people who are in that photo right there that are doing $1 million a month in sales, or if not more. So, I mean, it's been obviously the networking, the masterminding, getting together. There's partnerships that have been built from that group itself. I mean, there's quite a few people there. I mean, Kirsty, you probably recognise quite a few people who are in that photo as well. And these are people who were probably who joined ASM before you, and that you've actually spent time. I know you know Minders, Glovers very well, and so forth. So, is there anywhere there in the photo that stands out to you that you've kind of got a relationship or a network with Kirsty?
Yeah, certainly Minders. I'm in a mastermind with Minders myself. There's also Jules, who you've got circled there as well, and Ben and John, obviously John Gill. So yeah, definitely those 4.
So guys, so let me tell you about the trip a little bit more, and we'll go over what is actually included in the trip. Firstly, we're going to be doing factory visits. Now, I have personally myself, I've probably been to 35 to 50 factories over the last 4 or 5 years. Factory visits to me are absolutely critical. There's just, Kirsty talked about it earlier, how she's gone and seen her factories. Isaac has been with me to many factory visits. It's something that I find to be incredibly useful in building, just a rapport with your supplier. Okay, number one, I've gone to factories where, the factories just don't meet the standards that I think is acceptable. Now, I've actually walked into a factory, and it's funny. I've told this story a few times. I walked into a factory in Guangzhou, China. And I literally walked in, I saw the conditions, and I just said, no, this is not for me, and I walked out. And, and the Chinese were a little bit offended by that because, there's obviously protocols and so forth, but I just didn't want to waste my time with the factory that, the conditions, there were little old ladies sitting on plastic stools bent over, and, it was just a very old and dirty and dusty factory, and I just didn't want to deal with them, that kind of factory. And then I've walked into, factories on the same visit where they're, you have to put on white coats and, little booties over your shoes, and, it's all vacuum sealed, and, you get the air blown out of the vacuum lock as you walk through the door and everything like that. I mean, some really high-tech factories. So to me, factory visits are critical, not only to inspect where your products are going to potentially be made, but also to meet your suppliers, meet the factory owners. The factory owners love to kind of wine and dine you. They love to take you for lunch or for dinner, and really just kind of create those relationships where they'll go out of their way to make you a real high priority. So factory visits are absolutely critical. networking to me is one of the big things about this trip. I mean, that's really the whole key to the business. I mean, it's a key to the trip. It's a 12-day networking event is the way I see it. I mean, you get to spend one-on-one time with people like, with Kirsty, with Isaac, with Dave, with myself. I mean, you can spend, there's a lot of travel we're going to be doing, obviously, for 12 days. And, there's plane rides, there's train rides, there's bus rides. All of that time, we have to be sitting there, we all are sitting there together, we all network together. Okay, you can spend as much time with us, you can ask any questions you want, anything you need to know about your business. And it's not just with us, but it's also the people on the trip. As I mentioned in the last slide with the amazing selling adventure back in 2013, the networking that came from that was phenomenal. I mean, absolutely incredible. So that is definitely a big part of the actual trip itself. We also do masterminding. Okay, now we'll actually have sessions during the trip, okay, where at certain times, like as I said, there is quite a lot of travel. For example, we will be taking a train from Beijing to Shanghai. Now, we take a fast train, and it's about a 3.5, 4-hour ride. Now, during that time, we'll actually do a network session and a mastermind session where we'll actually go through different topics. We'll talk about, obviously we might do a complete session on something like Amazon sponsored ads, or Kirsty might do a whole session about how to sell into Germany, for example, something along those lines. We'll have a lot of different little mastermind sessions as the trip goes on. They will be planned. Certain nights we'll have dinner all together, and then after the dinner we'll have a mastermind event and so forth. So we definitely do a lot of mastermind. We actually do go to the Canton Fair. Now, we've designed this trip with the dates in mind so that we can make it to the Canton Fair. Now, we'll actually spend 2 days, which is great. Now, the Canton Fair is massive, guys. It is absolutely massive. It is broken down into 3 phases. We'll be there during phase 2. So if you want to go and have a look, you can go and look at Canton Fair and you can see what phase 2 is all about. But basically what we'll do is we'll spend 2 days there. We'll go through with you. Obviously, we'll break up into little groups and we'll walk around, but we kind of teach you how to be most effective at the trade show, because the very first time you go to the Canton Fair, it is very overwhelming in a lot of ways. It is nothing like you've ever seen before. It's so massively big and there's so much to see and do, and you can get bogged down and kind of lose track of what you're on, what you're looking for and so forth. So we will teach you all about that and how to do that efficiently. And of course, this is a luxury tour. Okay, it's basically an all-inclusive tour. We include everything. So basically, from the time you arrive into China to the time you leave China, everything's covered. So all of your meals and so forth. So and we do this as luxury as we can. I mean, I love to travel in style. I mean, I really do enjoy, obviously I love going into the backside, the back country and seeing, the villages and so forth. But, I also like to travel in comfort as well. And so, I go and make sure that all of the hotels, I've actually been to China and inspected the hotels we'll be staying at to make sure they're going to fit what I believe is the quality of what we want to do on the tour. So everything is included on the luxury tour itself. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through fairly quickly the itinerary, just so you guys can get a bit of an idea about where we are going. Now, basically what happens is we have an optional grouped flight from San Francisco to Beijing. And what I mean by optional is, look, there are people coming from all over the world. I'm currently based out of Australia myself, and I'll be coming from Australia. Obviously Isaac and Dave will be coming from Las Vegas and Phoenix, and they'll be coming on the group tour, the group flight. But for people who are coming from all over the world, basically what happens is, if you want to, you can come via San Francisco, especially if you're North Americans. All meet in San Francisco, and then we take a group flight from San Francisco to Beijing. Now, if you're not in North America, you can make your own way, and of course you'll be all met at the airport and so forth, and transfers are all included. But day 1 is basically San Francisco arriving into Beijing. Okay, day 2 is the arrival date. Okay, now that's on Sunday, April 17th. It's the arrival and welcome dinner. We'll be staying at the Hilton in Beijing. And it's basically the first night. We'll talk about we'll obviously get to meet everybody. We'll have a really great feast. I mean, one of the big parts of this trip is just the experience of eating food together. And in China, food is a big part of their culture, and we've done it in a way that we basically break down into usually groups of either 2 or 3, like a table of say 15 of us on one table and 15 on another table, or maybe 10 on a table, 10 and 10. So we have big groups of we sit down, and then we'll have all these dishes brought out and just incredible food. I mean, one of the highlights for me in China itself is the actual amazing food and so forth. And on day 2 we'll have our welcome dinner. All right, and day 3 we'll actually start some tourism. Now, guys, we do a little bit of tourism on this trip, and it's obviously one of the things that I love to do is show people my China that I love so much, and you know, and obviously starting in Beijing. Beijing is a great entry point to China with some of the great you know, the great tourism. Obviously the Great Wall of China. Now we go to a section called Mutanyu, and it's a beautiful section of the wall. It's a little bit further away than some of the closer sections, so it's not quite as many tourists, which is great. And it's you know, it is a fantastic experience being there. And then that evening we actually have what we call our Beijing Duck Feast. Now, if today was my last day on the earth, and someone said, "What meal would you like?" I would choose Beijing duck. It is unbelievably good. I mean, it's absolutely my favorite food. If you've ever had it, it's good but once you have it actually in Beijing, it's incredible. And I don't know why it's so much better in Beijing, but it really is amazing. And we have this incredible feast that you guys will really enjoy. Day 4, we do a little bit more tourism in Beijing. Now, again, the tourism side of things happens mostly at the start of the tour, and it's really a way for us to build the trust and the networking, the rapport of the group. Guys, we want you guys to be making relationships, and this is our way to do that. We'll be going and seeing some of the things like Forbidden Palace and Tiananmen Square and so forth, and then we'll actually have a mastermind session on that evening. Day 5 is actually Beijing to Shanghai travel. We'll actually be taking a fast train, and it's actually an experience. I purposely wanted to take a train. I mean, we could have flown, but realistically, by the time you go out to the airport and board a plane and so forth, it's about the same 3 to 4 hours that it takes to go on the train from downtown Beijing to downtown Shanghai. So it's a really good experience. The train does go extremely quick. It's around about, I want to say around about 300 kilometers an hour from memory, something along those lines. So it's an incredibly quick train, but it's a great experience. We'll also be doing networking in Shanghai that night. Day 6, we'll actually start our first factory visits, and we'll actually go to a factory in Shanghai, and you know, we'll get into that a little bit more later about what the factory visit's going to be. But basically, we'll also have something in the evening that night, the Shanghai Acrobat Show, which is something that you know, it's incredible. I've seen this show maybe 6 times now, and I love it every time. It's a really fun thing to do. So day 7, we'll actually be flying from Shanghai to Xi'an, and there'll be a mastermind session that night. Now, Xi'an is one of the most incredible places on this earth. I think if you guys have ever heard of it, they're called the Terracotta Warriors. They're based out of Xi'an, and it's what a lot of people call it the 8th wonder of the world. If you haven't heard of it, I highly encourage you guys to Google it and look up Terracotta Warriors, and you'll see this amazing you know, experience of what that is. And you know, and the first time I went to China, I'd never actually heard of the Terracotta Warriors, and I went there and I was just blown away. It's unbelievable experience there. So, and then that evening we actually fly into Guangzhou, China, in southern China, and day 9 and 10 we'll be doing our Canton Fair trade show and mastermind sessions in the evening. Basically what we'll do is we'll do the trade show during the day, and then we'll kind of dissect what we did during the day in the evening in the mastermind session, and talk about, you know, the next day and so forth. So that's day 9 and 10. Day 11, we'll be traveling from Guangzhou down to Hong Kong. Now, on the way, we'll probably do some more factory visits, and we've got that kind of sorted out. And then we'll do an evening in Hong Kong and our farewell dinner. And so, obviously, that's a great way to finish. Is you know, Hong Kong itself. If you've ever been there, it's an amazing city. And then day 12, we'll fly out from Hong Kong back to San Francisco. So pretty much, guys, it's a 12-day trip. That's the itinerary. We're heading Beijing, Shanghai, Xi'an, Guangzhou, through Shenzhen and into Hong Kong, and then back home. So, so that's pretty much the itinerary. And again, this is an all-inclusive package. We take care of everything for you while you're in China. So that means all meals, okay? All meals are covered, and you know, again, we'll have some incredible, you know, 17, 20-course meals. I mean, that's one of the things that I can't emphasize enough just how incredible it is, the experience of eating food in China. All your accommodation is covered, which is 5-star, you know, accommodation. Transportation, basically everything needed while you're in China, all of the flights, we'll be taking some flights, we'll be taking trains, buses and so forth. All of the activities are covered, obviously everything there, the trains, your Canton Fair entry, we get that all organized for you. We actually process and help you with your Chinese visa. Okay, this is a really important thing. I mean, I see this as kind of like a concierge tour in a lot of ways. Once you sign up with us, we'll actually help you get your Chinese visa. Everyone needs a Chinese visa who's going to China, so that's an important thing. We actually include travel insurance. Okay, that's a really important thing. We actually get a group travel insurance policy that covers all of us. The airport transfers, basically we'll meet you at the airport in Beijing when you arrive, whether you're on the group flight or if you're on your own flight. We provide a SIM card, a Chinese SIM card, so that you can have data and connectivity while you're there. I mean, it's a really important thing. Obviously, you guys are all running Amazon businesses. You do need to be connected. The hotels we stay at have Wi-Fi in the evenings, but we actually help you with the SIM card, so you've got connectivity during the day. We'll be using group communications as well, such as WhatsApp. And then there's obviously a lot of masterminding time. I mean, that's really what this is. 12-day mastermind is the way I see it. It's a 12-day network mastermind where you can spend as much time, talking and getting to know, everyone else and me and my team as much as you possibly can. Photo opportunities and so much more. So pretty much that covers everything in the trip. If we go to the actual cost of the trip now. There's actually two packages we offer. We have a single package, which is $12,997, and a couples package, which is $21,997. So basically the couples package is a twin share. Now that can either be something like a husband and wife or a business partner. We'll figure it out if it's, obviously you'd be sharing a hotel room, and you could either have two beds or a king bed or whatever it might be. Just we'll figure all the logistics of that out. So these cost $12,997 and $21,997. Cover everything that we've just discussed. The only thing that isn't covered, guys, is your airfares to and from China. And the reason why we don't cover that is because people are flying in from all parts of the world, and it's just something that's not practical. Somebody, we've had somebody who's coming from or wants to come from the Philippines, which is, a very short flight, obviously, and a cheap flight. If someone's coming from, wherever it could be. I mean, obviously Australia. I'm going to be coming from Australia, and as I mentioned earlier, people will be coming from all over the world. So the airfares are not covered, but again, right now, the airfares are incredibly reasonable. There's a round trip from San Francisco to China and back for, the last I looked was about $780 on United. And, again, that's something we will help you with. If you do join the tour, basically, again, we'll help you with all your travel and organize all the flights and so forth. So pretty much that covers everything as far as the trip goes. Now, payment options, we take a wire transfer, check, credit card through PayPal and PayPal itself. So they are our payment options. Now, guys, this is limited to 30 spots. Okay, there is only 30 spots on the trip. The first 30 people who sign up are actually going to be the ones who are obviously going to go. And the deadline for this sign up, it's Friday the 15th at midnight. Basically, it's either the first 30 that sign up or by Friday the 15th at midnight Pacific time. That's it. That'll be the deadline. So basically, if you are thinking about coming, you basically do need to sign up now. The actual sign-up form is on the website at smoothsourcingadventure.com. If you have any questions at all, you can send an email to info@smoothsourcingadventure.com. That'll actually come through to Isaac, and Isaac will respond to that. Isaac is fantastic at responding to any kind of questions that you might have. He's been, he's obviously handles the support for some of our other businesses such as Sourcing Profits and so forth, and anyone who's had any dealing with him knows how quick he is to respond and so forth. So if you are interested in signing up, go to the actual sign up and fill it out and sign up right now. You don't actually have to provide any payment today, but it does reserve your spot. So that's a critical thing, guys. The sign up will be the first 30 in order. So if you sign up today, and then we'll get back to you and figure out how to take care of the payment and so forth and what needs to happen. So that's pretty much it. I'm sorry I've been talking so much, guys, and I know that we probably had a lot of Q&A, a lot of questions and answers. So I'm going to turn it over to Isaac for now. And Isaac, if you want to maybe, just talk, put some questions out there and go from there.
Well, I actually do want to mention a couple other things real quickly. To reserve your spot, we don't actually require you to make a full payment either. we do have a deposit. The deposit is $5,000, so you can make your deposit first and then the full payment. I believe that's February 1st. Is that correct, Paul?
Yeah, sorry, I was just muted. Yes, February 1st.
Okay, so the final payment that you guys would be making would be, sorry about that, February 1st. So the deposit comes first, and then the final balance by February 1st. Your actual funds would be returnable or refundable up until I believe February 15th or March 1st, somewhere in there. I actually have to look. I can't even remember off the top of my head, but there is a refund period. It has to be with, I think it's like 60 days out of the trip, so I think it's like February 15th or something like that. And that's just because we will have to start booking the hotels, the trains, because accommodations are, in China, they're harder to book. It's not like you can just show up on that day and book a hotel. So you will have to actually, we will have to use your funds to actually make your bookings and your reservations 60 days out. So within, the first, whatever, from now until February 15th, I believe it is, you can refund your money if you decide you can't make the trip. But if you're certain you want to go, I highly recommend getting, into the, go straight to that website right now, smoothsourcingadventure.com, fill out the reservation, and then, I'll be following up with you guys via chat, or via email, I should say, and we will chat about, all of your needs and where you are and how we can get you to China. I haven't actually seen any questions yet, but I do want to open the questions up to you guys. If you guys have any questions, not just about this trip, but about your business in general that we can maybe help you answer right now. So that way, if you have a question, say you're working on something and you're just kind of stuck in your business, if it's something to do with Amazon, something to do with sourcing from China, something to do with dealing with Chinese translators or factories, or even shipping, anything like that, you guys feel free. What we do a lot with in China is basically we spend a lot of time in the factories. We work with our sourcing agents to work with the factories. We know most of our factories representatives and even owners almost either by a first or last name basis. And what that does is it immensely lowers the amount of money you have to spend because they know that you're more serious than somebody who's just, searching around on Alibaba. Actually visiting a supplier or networking with a group of suppliers, especially with packaging. That's one of the big things that we do a lot of is we get great packaging factories in China because even if you don't get your products from China, like we actually do get some of our products from the U.S., we'll get packaging for the U.S. brand products in China. So if you guys have any questions about any of that stuff, feel free to ask some questions. But right now, okay, here we go.
Well, before you do move into questions, Dave, I might just bring you on if you want to. You've got a few things I'm sure that you'd like to mention here.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks. And guys, while I'm talking, go ahead. I'm sure you got lots of questions. I know Paul and Isaac did a great job covering so much of what this trip is going to entail and give you a picture of what it's all about. And but I'm sure there's got to be tons of questions that you're thinking, including maybe other places specific about maybe factories or other topics that we can talk about or how much we can share with you. Any of that stuff, feel free to go ahead and put it in there. Or really, any questions that you have regarding your business whatsoever, go ahead and put them in there. We'll be happy to answer because we want to make sure that we're helping you with your business right now as well, besides just talking about this trip. So go ahead and put those questions in there. I did want to share a lot of things that we've talked about in our team. Those of you guys that are part of our team, most of you on this call are. We have talked about a lot of things about networking and masterminding. And originally we had we were going to do a trip to Jamaica. We were going to put some stuff together, and we just saw this as a better opportunity. And you get to see all the things you get with this. And to be honest with you, one of the reasons why I and my wife haven't been over to China yet is we really didn't feel comfortable going over there, not knowing exactly where to go or having someone to lead us, or we don't want to be stuck in the wrong places. Some of the things that you hear nightmares about with U.S. tourists or anyone really for that matter going to a foreign country and getting themselves stuck in a bad situation and maybe you never hear from them again, right? There's just scary things you hear, and everything. There's so much you get out of this trip, but one of the things you get is a peace of mind knowing that we're getting a chance to go with Paul and Isaac, who have done this before. Kirsty's been there, and Dragon, who's just the expert who actually lives there in China and knows exactly everything's been already planned out where to go. They've done this before, and I'm super excited. I know as I was watching Paul go through that again, I've seen it before what he's talked about. I'm ready to go on this trip tomorrow. I'm so pumped to be able to do this. And as far as the networking and the masterminding, this is something for all of us to just be able to spend that time together. One of the things that I hear when we go to events is that, hey, we don't have enough time to talk and really get to know each other and really dig down deep into our business. Well, this is your opportunity. The only time that we're not going to be sharing is when we're actually sleeping. Other than that, when we're traveling and going out and seeing these things, going to factory visits, all this stuff, we're going to be intermingling and talking and sharing nonstop and just building that relationship. And one of the things I love that I heard everyone share so far on the call was just the extra, the friendship and those relationships that have really taken not only their business to the next level, but just life in general, to be able to share life with so many great people and to be able to do things together. So I'm super pumped about that, and know that whoever gets a chance to go on this trip, you guys, there's only a certain amount of people that are alive. I know a lot of people on our team watch this recorded. I hope these positions or spots are still available if you really want to come on this trip, because this is something that is really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, not only for yourself but for your business. And I know that whoever does come on this trip, that we're going to be able to get super close with, and it's going to be an amazing experience. I know I personally can't wait, and looking forward to all the people that are going to be coming on this trip. And I know I saw some people that commented on the post I put in the team earlier today in the team group, and people had said that maybe I can't go right now. I'm not sure if I'm making enough money to do this, or maybe I'll do it next year. Well, at this time, and Paul, you can share maybe a little bit more about this, but we're focused on this trip right now. I would love to do more trips like this, but this one, especially for our group, this is our first one as our team. And not only that, but this is the first one that Paul's done since 2013, I think he said. So even still, it'll be 3 years later since the last time he's done this trip. So we're not sure we're going to do this trip again. This is your opportunity to go. And as far as the funds for this trip, this is all a business write-off. Everything that we're doing is everything 100% business write-off. So you're going to be paying for the trip, and you're going to be paying for your travel, and everything of that is tax deductible. So if you're already doing really well, and I know a lot of people in our group have been posting some amazing badge achievements already, 25,000, 50,000 a month. I think we even had 100,000 a month posted this past December. This is all comes off the top of that revenue. So you're going to be paying that money in tax anyway, especially I don't know many tax situations outside the United States because I'm in the United States, but I know for us, we are looking for opportunities to learn and grow and to buy more things for our business, because you know what, we're going to be paying that money back to the government anyway. So we might as well use it for something that's constructive, and I can't think of anything better than this trip, especially if you have those extra funds. Now, if you're not to that point yet in your business where you're like, oh man, I wish I had that money, I wish I had that revenue coming in so I could actually spend that sort of money, then you need to find a way to make that happen so you can make your business start generating that revenue. Maybe it'll be that you're going to have a nice refund check coming in the next couple of months here, and I'm sure, as far as financially, if you were going to have a nice refund check and you want to put it towards this trip to be able to do something amazing for yourself, maybe for yourself and your wife, then talk to Isaac and see if there's if there's something that's going to be coming later, however way to make this work for you. But I tell you right now, if you want to be on this trip, make it happen, because those people that are going to come on this trip, you're going to hear stories like the stories that Paul talked about when he was showing those pictures of these people that came on the trip 2.5 years ago that are doing over $1 million a year or over $1 million a month, and they're quietly doing it. You don't even know these guys are doing it, but they are, and they can attribute it to doing trips like this, to learning and growing together and networking. So that's just something I want to share there. It's something that's really near and dear to my heart. Paul, is just, I know that I am in a place today because of the relationships that I shared with so many people that are in this community, and also just really stepping out there and wanting to learn, and just craving to get more information, learning from people that have done it, and whether it be courses or networking or trips or whatever. But I know there's a tremendous amount of people in our team that this could just do massive things for, and I can't wait for the group that's going to be with us. So that's all I have to say there for now, Paul.
Yeah, look, Dave, and I appreciate exactly what you're saying. I mean, to me, the networking is critical, and even to the point, like, Isaac and myself. I mean, with Kirsty, we'd actually met Kirsty. Not really officially. I'd seen Kirsty at some ASM events, and I'd heard about her business and how great she was doing. But we actually met Kirsty last August, last September, at another, it wasn't an Amazon event, but it was another event. And from that point forward, we've had a great relationship, and we're kind of working together on a lot of different stuff. And we're talking about, looking at some exciting opportunities outside of Amazon. And it's one of the things that, guys, I don't want to get into too much right now, but for those who are actually coming on the trip, one of our big focuses for 2016 is actually opening up a brand new market, which is selling into China itself, is actually selling to the Chinese on their platforms that are not Amazon. And that's one of the things that we're actually working together on, and part of the reason Kirsty is coming on this trip as well is to kind of, we're going to do a little bit of networking on the trip itself and actually meeting with some of our Chinese representatives and so forth. So, but yeah, I mean, that's the big part of this, and I'm sure Kirsty, you can talk about some of the, the opportunities and networking that has created for you since you've been in this business.
Yeah, I mean, I think I know for myself personally, before I went to China, I was kind of sort of sat there thinking, well, I've got my people on the ground over there. I'm working directly with suppliers already, and I was thinking to myself, well, how can I, what's the difference between me spending money to go to China, and also when I went to the Aruba event, the Aruba event that I went to was about $15,000, I think, and that was for like 4 days. And again, I was just sort of thinking to myself, how is this gonna really accelerate my business versus, potentially just putting that money into stock. But I realized that actually, as I talked about earlier, it's the relationships and the networking that really does accelerate your business. And in terms of China itself, really understanding what goes on the ground out there, learning from sourcing agents, learning from people that source from there, learning from people at the Canton Fair, and just having that experience can save you considerable amount of time, money, and effort in terms of sourcing your products. And for me, that's one of the, you can have the best marketing in the world, you can have the best listings in the world, but if you don't have the best products and you don't have the best prices, you can't be attractive. So you can't be competitive at all within this space. I know myself personally, the last 6 months, Amazon has got a lot more competitive. And it's the pricing that's really sort of driving that competition, and obviously more sellers as well. So for me, going to China, finding the best possible prices, the best suppliers, the best factories to source your products from is completely invaluable. Yes, you can have a sourcing agent on the ground, but if you don't actually know how to work with them and how to almost how to negotiate with them themselves, and how can they negotiate for you, it's a completely invaluable experience. And putting a price on it is really difficult, actually. And most of the pricing here is more, the actual cost of getting there and getting around the country. So personally, I know it's really difficult if you're sort of considering, well, how do I do that versus putting that stock into my business? For me, it's almost like the planning stage before you put that stock into your business, and it can actually save you a considerable amount of time and money. And as I said before, the networking is completely invaluable as well, and that's saved me considerable amount of dollars as well within my business, and accelerated it as well. So from a personal perspective, and because I've done this before, that's sort of the main sort of key reason I would say, if you are sitting on the fence, then just consider how it can actually accelerate versus actually hinder you in terms of spending that cash within your business.
Well, fantastic. All right, so there are a few questions. Isaac, do you want to ask those questions?
Yeah, yeah. So a couple of questions. Well, Dan, I don't know how serious your question is, but you're asking, have you come across a Jordan Brand shoes factory? Now, that's actually a Nike factory that makes Jordan shoes, and no, we have never been to any Nike factories, and I actually don't even know what part of China those would be in. Paul, I don't know. I mean, I don't know why you would want to know where the Jordan Brand factory is, but it wouldn't be probably any good for you to go there because it's a very, very branded and secretive and secure factory, because Nike's not going to let you sell their shoes. So for this whole thing, it's going to be about private labeling your own products. So coming across a Jordan Brand shoes company is not going to be all that helpful. hopefully that kind of answers your question and maybe kind of clears up what kind of different. Okay, so you sell athletic shoes, so you were just trying to see if you, yeah. So Jordan brand shoes. I know I actually used to work for Nike. You wouldn't be able to sell their shoes private label with any other thing. They're going to have that definitely on lockdown. But Janice actually is asking, how do you find packaging companies? And Paul, I mean, maybe you can fire off some interesting stuff here as well.
Yeah, look, packaging factories to me is a critical aspect of our business. I really believe that if you are just using your supplier of your main product, if you're selling a widget and you're using that factory's, to get your packaging's probably not as good as it could be, because the bottom line is your widget factory, they're in the business of making widgets. They're not in the business of making packaging. And so they just obviously outsource it to another company, which in the end actually increases your MOQs, your minimum order quantities, because, the packaging factory says, well, they need to make 2,000 units or whatever, and you lose a lot of negotiation power. For us, we talk about it in our sourcing profits as well, how important it is to look at getting your packaging made outside of your supplier's factory and going to packaging factories. Now, how do we find them? Well, one of the things is we obviously have sourcing agents on the ground in China who actually will find our packaging factories. But we've actually been to quite a few packaging factories. On our August 2013 Amazing Selling Adventure trip, we actually went to one in Shenzhen, which was a really amazing factory. I believe, Isaac, you went there with me at one point as well, the factory, but the one I'm talking about. But we went through and we saw, every single aspect of packaging that can be made. I mean, just you guys would be blown away just how many types of boxes there are out there and how that works. So, but yeah, how do we find them? We use sourcing agents. One of the things we do is actually, if you're part of our community, we actually provide you with a list of our packaging factories that we use, because we don't find that there's any risk or competition with that. I mean, packaging factories, obviously they're making packaging, they're not our suppliers for our main products, so we definitely we have no problem sharing that as well. So that's something on the trip itself, we will actually go to some packaging factories as part of our factory visits.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, that's definitely, I mean, packaging is one of those things, like when I was saying earlier, it's not just about where you get your product from. You can get your product from anywhere in the world, but you can get those packaging factories, really good quality packaging factories in China. And I'm pretty sure we actually have one or two of those companies scheduled on our actual factory visits. So you'll get to see firsthand on this trip what a packaging factory actually looks like. So. John is actually asking, will the Canton Fair visit be during the first session of the fair? What is necessary to go to additional Canton Fair sessions after the tour is over? And I kind of just want to quickly maybe preface what the Canton Fair is, because maybe some of you guys actually don't know what it is. Essentially, it's a giant trade show, and a trade show is basically where all these manufacturers from all across China, it can even be like from Korea, India, Taiwan, wherever else, Vietnam, and anywhere where there's a big factory that wants to come to China. It's basically just a giant convention where all these factories come and set up booths, and then you just go through and you want to look at, say you want baby products or kitchen products or pet products. They'll actually have hundreds of booths for each section, and they'll all kind of put them in sections together, and then you just go through all those sections and say, hey, look, I found 5 suppliers that seem to be good quality products, and I want to work with them a little bit more. And then by the end of the time that you're there, you can actually find your supplier right on the spot. So it's completely, it says fair. It's not like a carnival or anything like that. It's really just a trade show fair. It's just something that where there's a bunch of people there. So don't be confused. It's not like something fun. Well, it's not that it's not fun. It's just not like it's not an entertainment type thing. It's for your business. So when you're asking John what part of the Canton Fair, it's actually going to be, I believe it's the second session, phase 2, which would be like consumer goods, home goods, a lot of like basically a lot of the things you need private label. The only thing that's not going to be there, I think, is major electronics and like the manufacturing stuff, like construction, stuff like that. So it's mostly the stuff that we would actually be looking at as far as private label sellers on Amazon. So it's probably the best phase to go to. If you want to go to additional Canton Fair sessions, that's perfectly fine. You can actually get to China early if you really wanted to and hit the first phase. And then you can also stay late by going back from Hong Kong back into Guangzhou, China, after our tour is over. You would just need a multi-entry visa, which is not much more expensive than a single entry visa. And we highly recommend either a double or multi-entry visa anyway, just because you might be coming back to China in the next year or 6 months. So, Paul, did you want to speak on any of that?
Yeah, look, basically, to me, the Canton Fair is something that it's a great experience to walk around and get product ideas. Okay, there is literally hundreds of thousands of products on display from thousands of different factories. It's one of those things that if you kind of know the niche or the category you're in or that you want to be in, you can get some great ideas. But it's really something that just kind of gets you thinking and opening up to what the possibilities are. I mean, one of the things we talk about, and we'll definitely talk a lot about on the trip, is product selection and how to use a product that you've got selling already, how to get complementary products in the same category or the same niche or whatnot that that makes sense. And that's something that's really good about the Canton Fair, because you can find one supplier and they've got like your supplier, you might be buying one product from, but they might make 1,000 different products and you don't even know about it. And once you go to their factory or you go to the Canton Fair and see different suppliers, you can start to see an incredible product range. And and you might go back to your current supplier and say, hey, look, I want to see your, what's your top 10 selling products, and then that obviously then expands your business down around that regard as well. So I really do think that that's a big part of it. And and one of the other things is I want to mention, guys, and it's something that the trip itself, we're going to have a lot of fun. I mean, I think back to the August 2013 trip. For anyone who knows Matt Clark, Matt's a pretty stoic kind of a guy. He's pretty deadpan. You probably don't see Matt smile too much. He's kind of, he looks very, he's very focused on his business. One of my funniest memories of the August 2013 trip was we're actually, on that trip, we actually did a boat trip, and we were actually traveling down a river, and it was one evening, and we were doing karaoke. We had our own karaoke room. There was like 30 of us in the room, and there was a lot of drinking going on, and let's just say that Matt was a little bit inebriated. And I just remember it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. Matt standing on a table. I mean, he's pretty wasted, to be honest, and he was singing karaoke. Everyone in the room was just laughing so hard because it was so unexpected. And again, anyone who knows Matt, you could imagine how funny that was. So there's, that's one of the things that the trip's going to be a lot of fun as well, guys. We have a lot of time together. We spend a lot of time, as I said, doing a lot of entertainment stuff. It's not all business, but there is a lot of business. So it's a real good balance from that regard.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, I mean, as far as getting to know each other, there's no real better way to do it than to kind of just be thrown all together and spend a bunch of time together and start breaking the ice with some conversation and maybe a drink or two, and that's where everybody kind of gets really more comfortable with sharing more about their business, learning more about other people's business, learning what things they can do here to make their business better. And I mean, just in the last year, I think I've been to 3 or 4 different type of mastermind things, and I would say I probably learned more things that I wouldn't even have thought of in the last year than I have in probably the entire, 2 to 3 years before that, of learning anything about selling online. So the masterminds, it pretty much advances your learning, and instead of wasting a year trying to figure out, every little niche and course out there that you can learn from. It's like 1 week or 2 weeks of just learning all that stuff right there in one room or one train car, airplane, or whatever. So it's pretty intense.
I just want to add to the fun there. I happen to be blessed enough to be able to go on the Aruba trip this past year, and I was there with Kirsty and the amazing group that she was talking about there. And some of the best learning, like Isaac was just saying there, some of the best learning comes when you're at an event and you're out after hours and you're out around the bar and you're having a few drinks and people are just getting a little loose and just enjoying themselves, getting to know each other a little better. Some of the best learning comes from there. Well, when you're on a trip like this, like I said about the Aruba trip, there's just so much after-hours things that happens outside the norm that Paul can't even talk about here. And I mean, it's just, not that he can't talk about it, just that we don't have enough time to explain it all, everything that happened on that trip. Like he just told you a little story about Matt Clark there. Well, there's so much that's going to come from that you're going to hold for the rest of your life. That's going to be just those memories that are just going to be you're always going to remember. Because I know if I said a couple of words right now to Kirsty, if I said Kirsty, if I say the word Barracuda, I think she would think of something in her head that happened on an Aruba trip, or maybe if I said night swim or early in the morning night swim or something like that. There's things that we said that we would never share with anybody because it was a certain special time that we had together in a group that was just something that was just incredible, amazing, and that's something that you guys are going to get here because you're going to get 12 days of that, of us traveling around together and having drinks. And if you guys don't know, if you really haven't got a chance to know me and you don't really know Kirsty yet, you guys are ready. You're in for a treat because I tell you right now, myself, I'm a lot of fun. Kirsty is a lot of fun. You put the two of us together, and some crazy stuff happens. That's what happened in Aruba, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So there's going to be some great stories, some great memories, and I just can't wait. I mean, it's going to be an incredible trip, and can't wait to see who's going to be able to come with us because I know that whoever comes, it's going to be something that all our businesses are going to be taken to the next level, but the relationships and all the mastermind that comes from it, not only during the trip but after, is just going to be amazing, and I'm very much looking forward to that. Paul, could you actually share a little bit about how after the trip you guys have continued to follow up with each other? You mentioned something about a Facebook group. I mean, is this some things that we're going to be able to do with this group as well?
Yeah, look, that's definitely part of what we'll do is, I mean, once you guys have been part of this group and this trip, we'll obviously have our own networking and mastermind group. That'll be a secret group for just those who went on the trip, and that'll run forever. I mean, it's, as I said, the August 2013 trip, we still have that group going. People still talk on it quite regularly, and we do more than just talk on Facebook. As I mentioned, at the ASM events, we usually organize a dinner where we get together, and and probably the last time we did that, there was probably 20 of us who went to the dinner. It was really, really great to just catch up and so forth. So yeah, I mean, it's not just, hey, look, go on the trip together and then never see each other. We actually, hopefully, are going to create relationships for life, and that's really what we're aiming to do with that. So.
Yeah, so I think we've been going for about an hour, a little over an hour, about an hour and 5 minutes. I haven't seen any more questions, so I think we'll kind of wrap it up. But I do want to remind everybody that this has a deadline. It is Friday, January the 15th. That's about 10, 11 days from now, and it's going to be midnight Pacific time. So if you are thinking about it, I mean, you do have a couple of days to think about it, but there's also the possibility that 30 spots might fill up before you actually make your decision. So even if you just want to secure at least a spot, thinking, okay, there's a good chance I want to go to the website right now and get a sign up pushed in, and even if you just change your mind later, at least you'll have contacted us, so that way we know that you're extremely interested. But yeah, like I said, it's Friday, January 15th, midnight Pacific time. So just be aware that is the deadline.
And I did want to share a little bit to that. Yeah, there's definitely some urgency there for you guys because, like I said, as soon as we hit 30, that's it. So if you do have interest whatsoever, you might as well sign up and make sure that you get some more info. You can contact Isaac directly at info@smoothsourcingadventure.com. Anyone that'd like to have some conversation with me about this personally, you can get a hold of me directly from our Facebook group. If you guys do not have my contact information, you can just contact me at Dave@DaveKettner.com. That would go directly to me, and I can follow up to say, hey, Dave, I'm interested in the trip. Want to ask you some more questions, and I'll be happy to chat with you about that. Or even just, any dynamics you want to know about the trip, or what could come from it, or how to pay for it, any of that stuff. Feel free to contact me directly as well. But very much looking forward to everyone that's going to be coming on this trip. Like I said, it's going to be a life changer. We're going to have the time of our life. And it's just going to be an incredible time, and your business is going to profit hugely from it. So looking forward to that too. So thank you guys for taking your time here. Paul, you want to close us out?
Yeah, look, I just want to thank Isaac, and thank you, Dave, and thank Kirsty. And Kirsty, I'm not sure if you have any last words you want to say before we head off.
No, I think it's all good. As we said, the deadline is in a couple of days. By the end of next week. And for me personally, I think I said it before, but I'll say it again. The networking events for me have completely changed my business. So just think of it in those terms, and how you can accelerate your business for the future.
Well, great, guys. Well, I appreciate everyone's time on the call, and looking forward to going to China with you. Obviously, I'm passionate about China. I love going there. Sometimes it's a bit of a love-hate relationship. I'll be honest. Sometimes I'm kind of get frustrated and so forth. But you know what? I cannot wait for this trip. I'm super excited. the Beijing, getting to Beijing and going to the Great Wall again. I mean, I've been there 6 or 7 times, and I love that experience, and I'll do that as many times as I can in the rest of my life. So, I really want to take you guys to China, and I can't wait to hang out and, and really make new friends and really grow our businesses together. So thanks for the time for the call, and yeah, please do sign up, and let's all go to China together. So good night wherever you are, and thanks for listening. Appreciate your time.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Bye, everyone. Take care.